Man, the media says that you guys aren't a diverse crowd, but this has got to be one of the most diverse crowds I've seen in a while. Thank you all for showing up. Now, I don't have the gift of just going and talking to the other people do, but I really admire that. My dad always said that I'm always pretty careful with my words, so I got to write down what I say. So excuse me for reading on this. My name is Marcia. I'm the founder of Virginia Freedom Keepers, and I'm one of the most censored of the censored that you will ever meet. We are a nonpartisan organization. I myself am a conservative-minded libertarian, and we're founded for medical advocacy. We oppose any and all medical mandates. I got into this. I got into this when my son was 2. I was a graduate of Johns Hopkins and full on board with the mainstream medical narrative until it literally took my son from me as a functioning child. Within 48 hours of a DTaP vaccine, he lost all of his words and most of his motor skills and was rocking in a corner. And from that moment, I was gaslighted by our pediatrician who received lucrative bonuses for the pharmaceutical companies for furthering the CDC childhood schedule. Now, we were lucky because my husband was military and is a special kind of military, so there's a lot of support for us. They sent us out to very boutique therapy and spent over $300,000 over several years. And now my son is a normal, healthy, happy baby. But what was confirmed along that entire journey, that this was as a result of the vaccination directly. And I was quiet because so many doctors said, well, maybe it was something with him, maybe it was something with him. And in 2019, we had him tested, and it was nothing with him. It was nothing genetic. He had an overdose of heavy metal adjuvant in his system that crossed the blood-brain barrier and caused massive neurological injuries. And I went to an event. On the National Mall, and there were over 3,000 families there of vaccine-injured children. And I made a promise between God and myself that day that I would never go another day without mentioning what happened to my child to try to protect somebody else's. On that journey, I learned that we have one passive monitoring system that takes in the information about vaccine death and injury. And that passive monitoring system is called VAERS. You hear a lot of weird talk about VAERS right now from places like PolitiFact and Politico or whatever they are, right? But VAERS is the only system that we have to regulate and to monitor these immunizations. And do you all know that since 1986, they have been liability free for the manufacturers? 1%. Harvard found that 1% of all vaccine death and injury is captured by VAERS. And the pharmaceutical companies are then left to police themselves. Of that 1%, it is very, very difficult to get through VSIP and to get and to be compensated for your child's injury. But to date, of our taxpayer dollars, because pharma has no liability, $4.6 billion has been paid out in death and injury of our children. And if of that, the maximum cost, if one of these liability-free products kills your child, that they'll pay for you is $250,000. So every time you inject your child, they're saying that child's life isn't worth more than $250,000. My child's is. So I was asked to speak here today, and I went a little off, but that's just what I felt called to do. I was asked to speak here today, and usually I'm that vaccine girl. I get recognized in Lowe's now, and Daily Beast writes hit pieces about me, but that's okay. I'm going to keep telling the truth. Today I want to talk about how we have been strategically splintered, divided, and pigeonholed into our unique causes. Most of you are here about this. Most of you here are the CRT people fighting against this intrinsically hateful rhetoric that's being pushed on our kids. A lot of you are here advocating for facts over feelings when it comes to gender issues. I applaud all of you. But you have to see how divided we've become. They label you as hateful. They label me as the anti-vaxxer. And oh, don't even touch the 2A people. We know the things that they're saying about them. They are using words as weapons and falsely labeling us in ways that we are isolated within our unique causes. And we won't band together. I say enough, and I say we are done. It is time that we unite under a common goal of freedom. This is what our children should be taught in school from day one. Love of country, love of freedom, and their God-given rights to choose what is best for them without force or coercion, and to retain the God-given right to protect themselves. I'm here today to help you fight for your kids in these corrupt systems, because I've pulled mine, but I'm still going to show up for yours. And to tell you that we need to start building our own systems. We hear the whispers of the descent into communism and socialism, but I'm going to affirm to you that we're already here. It is here. It is a wave, and it is pouring over us. In 2019, we packed the halls in Richmond. We waited tirelessly day after day and drove hours with our children. In 2019, the legislature steamrolled HB 1090, and our tyrant governor called every Democrat in for a pancake breakfast right after he made a multi-million-dollar deal with Merck and told them that they must further this bill. Now, anything the CDC recommends becomes the mandate for your kids. And the legislative process is removed, and an unelected board of bureaucrats gets to choose what's being mandated for your children in the schools. There is a revolving door, lucrative incentive program from pharma to CDC, and all you have to do is research the CDC Foundation to find that. There's an abundance of information on the Children's Health Defense website that is run by a courageous Democrat, Robert Kennedy Jr., who's been canceled, just like I have. And then you can also look at the ICANN network and Del Bigtree at the High Wire, who was an Emmy award-winning producer for the doctors who realized the corruption that I'm telling you about here today. I'm a former law enforcement officer. I was a law enforcement officer in one of the most dangerous areas that you can be in. And when I hear these things of inequity, I think back to the kids that I used to work with and how this doesn't even appeal. This doesn't even make sense in these low socioeconomic statuses where these people are just operating from just basic need and function. And these kids are being rushed through and given this victim mindset and this indoctrination system full of propaganda. And they have no choice but to believe it. So I'm so proud of each and every one of you out here taking a stand today. I will continue to fight alongside with you for as long as we possibly can, because in the end, we win. Thank you.
Important what she talked about is our freedoms. And today we have a lot to talk to our school board about. Masks, vaccine, transgender, CRT. I want to encourage each of you to push back at these ways of holding us and our children back. So I'm begging you, please make sure that they hear your voices. Now, one voice that I need to hear from more often is our teachers. So I've actually formed a little coalition of teachers that want to remain anonymous. I'm going to meet with them for coffee. I'm going to encourage them and empower them to have a voice. They're going to anonymously give us information. And that information is how we prove what is being taught to our children. So with that, I have a very courageous teacher as our next speaker, Monica Gill.
Hi, I am Monica Gill, and I teach U.S. history and AP government at Loudoun County High School, and obviously I'm not anonymous, and haven't been for a while. I have been speaking out specifically against the Equity Initiative and CRT, really from the beginning of its inception. Loudoun County Public Schools Equity Initiative is imposing the lens of critical race theory on educators and on our kids. And critical race theory demands that we view one another through this distorted lens of race. It demands that we look at each other in these new racial stereotypes. They make up a new one every day. We have to look at each other as oppressed and oppressor, and we have to look at each other solely based on our skin color. Critical race theory is encouraging our kids and our teachers to discriminate against one another. Even the experts who we are given to quote unquote learn from in our teacher training advocate discrimination. Ibram Kendi, who's a CRT guru, his book was required reading for some of our teachers last year, and he advocates discrimination. He says the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. Contrast that with our hero, Martin Luther King Jr. This is what he said. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Discrimination cannot drive out discrimination. We will not solve problems of racism in America with more racism. So Kendi sows division, as we have daily proof, and he gets paid tens of thousands of dollars to sell his equity construct to our schools, while Martin Luther King Jr. gave us the blueprint for unity, and he was the one who paid for it. He paid for it with his life. His Christian teachings to love others, love your enemy, turn the other cheek, love your neighbor as yourself, those succeed where equity fails every time. So as a teacher in this division, I stand against Loudoun County's equity policies because these policies are critical race theory in disguise. And I can tell you, because I have sat in the teacher trainings and I have witnessed it. I have witnessed how this division is pushing the false narrative and the racial stereotype of white privilege. I have sadly witnessed that trickle down into our student body, where I have heartbreakingly seen some of our students of color say to their white peers to exclude them things like, well, you can't be a part of this conversation because you're white. That's awful. No child should be excluded because of their skin color. The color of their skin has nothing to do with whether or not they are someone of value or whether or not they have something of value to add to a conversation or to our fellowship in our community. We are being taught in our teacher trainings that to claim that you're colorblind is a microaggression. We are being told that to claim that you are colorblind is racist. This is the complete antithesis of what we were taught by Dr. Martin Luther King. He advocated for a colorblind society. So forcing students to view the world through this distorted lens of race is wrong. We should be teaching children this. There is one race, the human race, and teaching them anything different is irresponsible and it's counterproductive to having a healthy community. And I think we see daily proof of that with this divisive policy. I have been teaching for 26 years. I have been teaching pretty controversial things for 26 years. And I can tell you that I have never once in my teaching career had any problem or any fear of dealing with the issues of race or any kind of injustice in my classroom. In fact, I welcome the opportunity to teach about them because it allows me the opportunity to point to America's moral compass, which we have employed time and time again to right the wrongs of our past and to right this ship. And I will continue to do that. As I stand here and I think about all of us here, it is not that teachers like myself, and there are more of us than you think, just really quiet and very afraid. But it is not that teachers like myself or all of you parents who are standing behind me, and thank you for that, it's not that we don't want our kids to learn about racism. It's that we don't want our kids to be taught through this distorted lens of race. We want our kids to be taught the MLK way, where the most important thing about an individual is who they are and not what they look like. Thank you.
Monica, thank you so much. If you know any teachers that do not like what's going on with imposing these restrictions on our children, please have them get in touch with me. I promise you they will remain anonymous. They will not be known to the public, but the information they have is vital to this fight. So I want to mention one thing. I'm seeing what's happening here. We are not going to engage with people with opposing views. We are going to be calm, cool, and collected today, right? It's fine It's fine if they come in. Let's just ignore them. Natalie, I love you, but step on back. No worries, okay? We are going to be the calm parents that don't, in fact, lady, ma'am, we embrace you coming here. Thank you for having the courage. Thank you for having the courage. I won't give you the microphone, but you're mistaken because everybody matters, especially our children. I'll be honest, I'm going to give a personal thing about me. My whole life, I was told I was a minority, that I was Hispanic, that I was, yellow skin or whatever. It doesn't matter. Now they call me white girl. So I fit whatever narrative they want at that moment. So thank you for showing and expressing your opinion. I want to remind everyone, whoever signed up to speak, I'm going to ask that you go over either to the windows or there's another message board. But the first 10 people, they're going to be doing virtual comments first. And unfortunately, there's 50 of them. So we'll be almost done with our rally. Oh, so virtual has 2 minutes. What about in person? 40 virtual, only 1 minute each. I just got confirmation. Okay? So we have a little bit of time for us to hang out together. But I'd like to make sure that the first 10 people, if you don't know, Nicholas Gothard, Amber Bickler, Julia Holcomb, Josh Hetzler, Shreya Muju, Lori Avila, Jackie Vaughn, Brian Mooney, Megan Jenkins, and myself. So we got to get going probably around 4:30. We'll head to the door, okay? So let's keep going on. We've got still an amazing group of people. And with our support, Gary Higgins, 10th GOP chair.
Thank you, Patty. Victoria Cobb, I think, said earlier today that we started a movement in Virginia. I've got news for you. We've started a movement all over the country. There are news pieces every single day from another school board and that has been called to task by the parents. So we haven't just started a Virginia movement, we've started a national movement. And if there was a silver lining to COVID, it's the fact that all you parents and every one of you that are here, I thank you for starting that movement, got a chance to see what was going on inside of the classrooms. And what we saw was not very nice and was not the kind of things we thought ought to be going on in the classrooms. It's interesting. I've read lots of news reports about this, and the naysayers want to dismiss this movement as a handful of party hacks or of activists. I have news for you, and I haven't seen the numbers in about 2 weeks. There are 12,000 signatures that they've gathered. 12,000. Those are not party hacks or activists that are from some political group. Those are parents that are concerned about their children. From a personal perspective, I'd just like to point out that I am a taxpayer in Loudoun County. My wife and I have 3 daughters that graduated from Loudoun County schools, and I currently have 4 grandsons in Loudoun County. So I, among all of you, have the same interest in what's going on in our school board. Additionally, for the better part of 20 years, I spent in public service on the school board and on the board of supervisors fighting for excellence in education here in Loudoun County. It was something that we worked hard on. It was a bipartisan effort. We might argue about the funding sometimes, but we were all committed to creating a superior school system in Virginia. And in the past 18 months, what these people have done is unbelievable. And you know what? I got to sit down and start thinking about these things, and it's always the latest one. It was the school closures, and then it was CRT, and then it was this, and then it was that. I'm just going to run through a list because it's something new every day, and we can forget about these things. These people are working to destroy our system. They've closed the schools for almost 2 years. They've dumbed down math, SOLs, done away with advanced diplomas, class rank, quotas at the academies of Loudoun. They want men to participate in women's sports, and I have a little information for them. If you follow the science, there's XX and XYs. There are 2 genders, and only 2 genders. And putting men in women's sports is not only unfair, but it will destroy what Title IX has done over the past, 30 or 40 years to give parity and equity to women in athletics. Now I read about a new mask mandate, and we have critical racist theory, and now we have policy 80-40. And you know what? It's interesting. It was explained to us by the school board that this was a mandate. Well, it's not a mandate. It's guidelines. And the school board has the authority to work within those guidelines or not at all, as we found out from some of the school systems. So I hope maybe they'll have the guts to say, no, we're not doing that here in Loudoun County. And the thing that's sad about this is that most of these decisions about all these things that have happened in our school system have happened without the input from parents, the involvement of parents, and they've been implemented. And we have to sit by a Zoom screen to find out what the heck is going on in our school when we ought to be at work and doing the things that we need to do to raise our families properly. But the good news is parents are voting with their feet. The 2020 numbers and their projections, they were off by 4,500. Let me tell you something. I've been in Loudoun County a long time. That's never happened in 40 years. And in real students, they're down by 2,500 students. That's last year's numbers. Wait till we see this year's numbers. They're making the case for school choice. And I can see from the legislators that I know, there's going to be an all-out movement of that come the next General Assembly. I would close by saying this is a movement. You started this movement. Parents want their kids in schools to get education, not indoctrination. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep the heat on them, and we will turn these things around. Thank you.
So even though I say this should not be a political thing, I want to share with you, we have the support of the Republican Party with our fight. And here to represent the Virginia Federation of Republican Women is my friend and president, Paula Steiner.
Thank you. Thank you, Patty, for inviting me here today. I appreciate all of the advocacy and bravery that it takes for you all to gather here today. And if anyone tries to shut you down and say that you do not have the right to be here and do what you're doing, I want you to refer to the website of the National Endowment of Education. Yes, they say form a team to support the effort and expand your supporters. Check, you've done that. Engage your school board and educators and parents. Check, you've done that. Gather signatures of support. Check, you have done that. Identify board member allies. You have done that. And last but not least, hold a public education event or town hall meeting. You have done that. You are here today. Thank you for your bravery. Will America remain a nation of thoughtful discourse as our founders intended? Or will we allow our country to sink to the depths of warring tribal factions to abandon our founding principles? Victor Davis Hanson once said, will we have ourselves defined by race and subvert to tribalism? It only takes one brave person to stand up and say, no more. Additionally, on the NEA website, they are changing their narrative from equity consultants that you have seen in the past. The word is getting out about their woke agenda. They are changing the narrative to mental health consultants. We cannot let our children be told that they are victims. They are strong because of good parents like you. And we need to not let them be taken advantage of when they come back to school to be told that they are victims, that they're not good enough, that and to be told the truth. You will also be made aware on the NEA webpage that we cannot tell our children that they're behind in their work. Rather, they just have not done that yet. That is an excuse to not seek excellence. Our children deserve more, and we will demand it, and you will demand it. I thank you again for being here today. I thank you for your advocacy. I thank you, Patty, for all that you do and being such an example to the nation. Loudoun County has given school boards and parents across the nation hope. Thank you for enduring and being brave.
Thank you, Paula. So I'm really excited about the next couple speakers because these are my people, parents. Parents are my people, right? And the next group, we call ourselves simply the Loudoun Parent Panel, and we've gone to Delaware, we've gone to Maryland, we've done a little bit of a talk, and I want to lead us off with our chatterbox, Joe Mobley.
Hey guys, I'm the chatterbox, thanks. I've been called worse. I've been called a white supremacist, so that's interesting. So, this is interesting. Do you guys know that I'm actually a security professional? So we're gonna do a security pop quiz. All right, who thinks it's a good idea to walk down dark alleys at 3 a.m.? No one? Okay. Who thinks it's a good idea to leave your bank account PIN the 0000 or the 1234? No? No. Okay. Who thinks it's a good idea to... Who thinks it's a good idea to stand under a tree with that going on? So, what we've done is allowed medical professionals to tell you stuff that's obviously false. As if I said, as a security professional, to do all of that stupid stuff that I just listed. All right? But it's important. It's your job to discern, to use your own judgment. It's your job. Okay, do masks work? I'm not going to say masks don't work. This is me saying I'm not going to say masks don't work, but do they? No. Does the vaccine work? Does it not work? Are the breakthrough cases, significant? But here's the thing. They're going to lock down. They're going to mask the children. They're going to put kids in plastic bubbles and 14 feet apart, all because of safety, and they're ceding all of their authority, they're ceding all of their decision-making to the CDC, the World Health Organization, NIH, whatever other organization. None of those organizations govern in Loudoun County. None of those organizations were elected to the school board, were elected to the Board of Supervisors, were elected to the governorship of Virginia. So don't let them do it. Look at the data yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. Look at the data yourself. Read the VAERS report. Do the data polls. An interesting thing about VAERS, and I'm so glad that she brought that up, it's almost like they don't want you to see the totality of the data because you can only pull 10,000 records at a time, which is very strange. Not a scientist, not a data scientist, but I play one on TV. And if you know what I actually do, then it's pretty funny. But sit there at the computer, do those 10,000 record polls, look at what the data says. If you haven't seen Dr. Don Stock's Mount Vernon School Board meeting, look it up tonight when you leave. Get familiar with the literature, get familiar with the studies. Stop letting doctors tell you that you don't know how to read and that you can't understand a pie chart or a graph. Especially a lot of you people are white, presumably you can use the internet and have accountants and all that stuff. So stop letting people tell you that you can't read, that you can't interpret data. If you're not a doctor, then you can't have an opinion on whether a cloth reusable, left in your car, hanging from your rearview mirror mask can save you from a deadly virus. Stop letting them tell you that. And don't put up with it when they lock up the kids again and they mask up the kids. My kids are at home. They're doing fine. They're homeschooled. And it's interesting. I've been to how many of these do we do? I've been to dozens of these. I was at Insurrection Day. Haven't gotten COVID, or maybe I have. Who knows? But stop listening to, again, I'm not going to say the masks don't work. I'm not going to say the vaccine doesn't work, or there aren't breakthrough cases and all that stuff. All that stuff I'm not going to say. But decide for yourself and hold the board accountable.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. How cool and calm collected was he when that massive strike of thunder, holy. I think God is telling us we got to strike down on these school board members. All right, up next is one of my friends and club members, Shivan Fleet, Chinese immigrant and witness of the Chinese Cultural Revolution.
Hi, my name is Shivan Fleet. I'm a resident of Loudoun and a concerned citizen. We are here to stop the school board from introducing CRT to our public schools. But for decades, CRT has been taught and preached in our higher education. We can see the result today. We can see the result on college campuses where students attack conservative professors and speakers just because they disagree. We can see the result in our cities where the self-proclaimed progressive youth created chaos by burning down buildings, tearing down statues, and attacking police in the name of anti-racism. As a child in China, I witnessed Mao's Red Guards doing the same thing during the Cultural Revolution. The social justice warriors of America today are Mao's Red Guards of yesterday. Many of these indoctrinated youth are now teaching our public schools and running our schools. And that's not enough. And they wanted to officially implement CRT in our schools. The radical left, they understand it is important to start indoctrination as early as possible. CRT not only teaches children the way you are born into determines whether you are a villain or victim. It also is used to silence people who question. Mao used the same tactics to control and to divide and control people. That's not a surprise, because both Mao and the left, the radical left, got that from the same playbook by Karl Marx. What we're dealing with is cultural Marxism, is communism. CRT intend to divide, to turn our children against us and against our country. Parents, we need to step up and fight back. These are our children. They do not belong to the government. Thank you.
We do not co-parent with the government. All right, next up, another of my close friends and members, Chantel Cooper.
Parents, pretty soon school is starting. What have you set for your children? What have you educated and prepared your children to do and what to look out for before they walk through that school door? Raise your hand if you have already written a letter of what your child will be excluded from in school, what books they are not to read. PackLoudon.com gives you a list. PAC, Loudoun. What is the teacher's plans so that your child will not participate in the school board? Agenda, sexuality, political agenda, propaganda. May 11th this year, I spoke with many other parents. My words that day was, look at me. Well, look at us. We are coming together and we are strong. Simply just for showing up. Today, I want to invite my special friend who reached out to me as a mother and who is now a great friend, Sulana Pearson.
Hi guys, my name is Sulagna. I am an Indian American immigrant, tax-paying Loudoun County. Sorry, I'm all of 5'3". I'm Asian after all. Tax-paying Loudoun County citizen for 22 years, mother of 4 biracial children. 2 of them are still in LCPS. I started my fight against CRT last summer when I wrote a 3-page heartfelt letter to Dr. Williams and the LCSB with my personal story of trials and victories as a public school student in Richmond, Virginia. The letter had one theme. Yes, my experiences were not utopian, but they only made me stronger and work harder to be successful despite adversities of my life. I graduated at 16 years of age from high school. I got my college diploma by the time I was 20 years old and a master's degree in counseling psychology and human services by the time I was 22. I don't hold grudges against anyone and did not claim victimhood. CRT negates my experiences. It forced me into condescension and subjugation. That was the start of my fight. Last year was a circus. I blame myself for being an atypical Loudoun County mom, too busy in mundane daily routine to really pay attention to what was going on behind the scenes at my own children's schools until it could not be ignored any longer. Daily, my children came home with distressing stories of divisiveness over gender identity issues, race issues, and political issues. So this year, I am in the driver's seat. I am taking control of my children's mental health. I am setting the parental parameters for their school staff by sending this letter I'm about to read to you. Bear with me, I don't have my readers. Dear LCPS staff, first, we want to thank you for all you did this past year for our children to learn even under unfamiliar and strenuous circumstances. Words. Is there any way I can have this mic be the words? I can hold my paper, please. Too low. Just right. Thank you. Words will not be able to express our gratitude for your resilience and endless patience. This past year has been a trial for all of us, especially in the roles of working parents. Many of you are also working parents who can empathize with the multiple acrobatics we all perform to keep our professional and personal lives functioning to the best of our abilities. We laughed, we cried, we even got angry, but we all survived. Moving forward into this year, we want to ensure we communicate our expectations with complete transparency. It has been a summer of self-education for us, processing the new set of principles and philosophies that LCPS has slowly adopted over the last year. Of course, we're referring to the critical race theory and all tenets of it under the anti-racist ideology. Fervently, we implore our roles as mixed-race parents not be usurped by LCPS when it comes to any social justice agenda, political agenda, religious agenda, and sexual identity agenda. We reserve the right to ask our children not be faced with punitive measures by staff or peers if they refuse to participate in any activity, instruction, or discussion that they seem as deeming anti-American, anti-military, anti-law enforcement, anti-religion, sexual identity education, and Marxist communist ideology, such as the Black Lives Matter organization. Yes, I said it. Our children exercise their constitutional rights to follow their core beliefs and morals, not what LCPS propagates. Our daughter was a victim of bullying last year when she refused to join the Pride Club due to her religious beliefs. Therefore, we're implementing proactive measures to advocate for our children's psychological well-being in order to protect them from any and all divisive ideology rooted inside obscure verbiage of critical race theory and gender identity propaganda. Here is a direct quote from the training materials from LCPS. Teachers have a special role to teach academics and inculcate morals. The teacher is the second mother. Parents' role is to socialize children and respect teachers' authority. We agree that the teacher's role is to teach academics, English, math, science, accurate history. The rest of that alarming statement quoted above troubles us to the inner depths of our souls. We ardently refuse to be robbed of our parental rights to inculcate morals to our own children. Even the greatest of teachers will not be allowed to be the second parent to our children, as our children are not awarded to LCPS or the state for anything other than academics alone. Our children's moral upbringing has always been and will continue to be our sole responsibility. It is our absolute stipulation that no LCPS staff should be allowed to impose his or her morals, beliefs, and activist political agenda upon our children contrary to our own. We close this letter by challenging all CPS staff to explore and understand how quickly and nefariously the boundaries of education are being blurred and with propaganda indoctrination. The heart and intent of this letter is not to blame or offend any of the wonderful educators our 4 children have been blessed thus far to have in their lives. As concerned parents, our heartfelt wish is to assure our children grow and learn in positive environment that prioritizes education, not any other agenda. I have one more thing I want to say. I am risking everything to be here today and speak publicly because I understand with no risks, no real rewards can be reaped. So I challenge others, especially if you are an immigrant like me, to fight for our children's future in this greatest nation where they will not be seen by their skin color or sexual orientation or political affiliation, but what really truly resides in their beautiful hearts. God bless America. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a little taller. All right, we did get some news about the information inside. I'm going to have Elizabeth give you an update.
Hey folks, just wanted to let you know that we talked to the folks inside. They are letting all of the virtual speakers continue to speak first while all of the live speakers are here in a heat advisory and a thunderstorm warning. If you find it necessary to go to your car to stay safe, please know that if your turn is missed, they will not allow you to speak. They will come out to the side of the building with a bullhorn, so you need to be close enough to the bullhorn to hear your numbers called. Thank you, LCPS.
But I got Funny Man next. Michael Rivera. Let's keep it going.
So every day is a challenge. Everybody knows the story about the dog that kind of gets distracted by the squirrel. And every day it's like, squirrel, what did somebody do today? The story of the day was Andrew Cuomo resigned because he's innocent. You can do whatever you want with that one. So I think the important thing for us to do is stay focused. I've always told people that knowledge is power. What Joe Mobley said is look at data, look at stats, look at what's coming out of the CDC. They're actually contradicting themselves about masks and children, and their own data says that they are lying. But it's such a big organization, they can't control each other. Um, we have to, we're getting assaulted all the way from the top down to the very bottom, and I call the very bottom the school board, because our school board is in the gutter right now. Our president said that black kids can be just as smart as white kids. He said it. It was a paraphrase, but he said it. And I don't have a lawyer or an accountant, but I'm going to borrow Joe's. Somehow Joe got a lawyer, and Joe Mobley got a lawyer and an accountant, and he's black, and he's not supposed to have one either. So these are things that people sort of let roll off their back, and they don't really pay attention to them, but they are significant because they're insulting our intelligence. We have to remember that we are a democratic republic, and the people that are sitting in that building are elected to office to serve us. We fell asleep at the wheel. I was in that car. When the driver fell asleep, I might have been driving it, but I'm not going to fall asleep ever again. We have to take part in local elections, and we have to make sure that we get these people out, and even the people that are yes men and women. So if you're voting with your team because you don't want to be ostracized, then you need to go as well. So my message to everyone is knowledge is power. They are our kids. They're not the state's kids, because that's what they want to do. They want to make them state's kids. They're our kids. And I'm tired of having uncomfortable conversations with my son about and explaining to him that there's nothing wrong with black people, that there's nothing wrong with Indians and Asians, and that we're all people and you need to treat people with respect regardless of what they look like when they walk up to you. So again, knowledge is power. Look at the data, look at the stats, start questioning authority. And as I think it was Scott from PAC said, we need to FOIA the crap out of the government. Thank you.
Sorry, we had a windstorm, but we're not complaining because it's a nice breeze, right? All right. Kind of finalizing our team of parents, Ryan Bomberger, father of 4 and founder of the Radiance Foundation.
You like my shirt? You know what? When we were in school, we were taught KISS, which stands for what? Yeah, I think today it means keep it secret, socialist. But anyway, honestly, I don't even need to say more than what this shirt says. Can you read it with me? We are one human race. Can I get an amen out here? Oh my gosh. It's amazing. Say it again. We are one human race. I grew up in a family of white, black, Native American, Vietnamese. I'm from a small family of 15. 6 brothers, 6 sisters. I know a little bit about skin diversity, but what we're talking about, when they talk about diversity, they don't mean that. They mean only the things that are included in their inclusive category, and then they exclude everybody else. But here's the thing. On the LCPS's website, they have, of course, Ibram X. Kendi's book. That's what they recommend, How to Be an Anti-Racist. I think they added the wrong word there. They need to pull anti out. How to Be a Racist. But Ibram X. Kendi, whose real name, by the way, is Henry Rogers, he teaches that the only way to address past discrimination is current discrimination. And so the only way you rectify prejudice and racism is with more prejudice and racism. But I want to read something to you in light of that. In fact, I'm going to go to one of his tweets, actually, where he talked about Amy Coney Barrett. Do you remember the Supreme Court confirmation? And he talked about how she and her husband, who adopted, they're white, or off, because nobody's actually white. You're off-white, right? Anyway. But he talked about how they were colonizers and how they were white saviors. Ibram X. Kendi, who is not an adoptive parent, obviously doesn't understand adoption. But here's the thing. I had a white father, an amazing man who actually loved those that other men abandoned. In fact, 10 of us. I was the first one adopted, and then 9 more were adopted, which created the family of 15. And I will tell you, my dad and my mom didn't have Alex. They had a love reflex. But see, the anti-racist crowd can't understand that because they think they know who you are simply based on the content of your melanin. But the content of our melanin does not change my moral authority or my propensity to sin. It doesn't make me any more or less moral. But yet that's exactly what they want to teach kids and separate them and then deny that they're teaching critical race theory. It's like, I don't know, it's like Jim Crow racists saying, you know, we're not pushing segregation, we're pushing different spaces. No, you're not. It's segregation. It's critical race theory. It's equity. What is critical race theory? Well, what is critical race theory? It's an academic framework that looks at the legal structures and now looks at every single institution that exists and says that there's racism in everything. Which, interestingly enough, it does not acknowledge the racism in the abortion industry. So the woman that was standing here earlier that had the shirt that said Black Lives Matter, the funny thing to me is liberals who wear those shirts don't actually believe that Black lives matter in the womb. So that aside, if you want an academic discourse on what critical race theory is, I'd be more than happy to teach that to you. But the point is, these people know that they're teaching critical race theory. One of the basic tenets of critical race theory is that racism is baked into society. It is everywhere, which is why they're going to these extreme efforts with this equities stuff. I'll just leave it at stuff. But here's the point. Let's take their logic to its conclusion. If it's all about reducing, it's not about equality, but giving people different places because of the color of their skin or because of the perceived oppression, why don't we apply it to track and field? So in track and field from now on LCPS, based on your level of oppression, I was a sprinter back when I was a lot thinner. But anyway, based on your level of oppression, let's move the finish line closer to you. That's what equity is. And if it doesn't work in track and field, it certainly shouldn't work in the classroom. So here's the thing about LCPS, and then they talk about inclusion, but yet they spend so much time trying to exclude parents. Don't marginalize parents. Don't kick us out. And you are not the second mother or the second father. And we appreciate teachers. My wife was a teacher for 13 years. I love public school teachers. I just don't love the crazy administration that thinks that they're pulling one over on us. So in the end, when it comes to issues of race, and I'm putting that in quotes, as someone who is biracial, I guess when it comes to reparations, the white half of me will have to pay the black half of me, but that's another story. But in the end, this is all that really matters. We are one human race. Thank you. God bless you. Check out radiance.life. That's our organization, the Radiance Foundation. Thank you, Patty.
Awesome, Ryan. You see why I love my parents? They're the bomb. Thank you so much. All right. Do you remember at the last school board meeting that retired senator that sparked us to clap? Well, I got him back. Introducing retired Senator Dick Black.
Okay, thank you, Patty. I really appreciate everybody who's been out here today. We had quite a crowd earlier on. I think a few have left from the heat and a few left from the thunder. It's interesting that here we've got the gang of 6 in here on the school board, and they have done everything they could do to suppress your civil rights. They've had an enemies list on you. They have restricted the time you could speak down to 1 minute, which was unbelievable. And now they've said, we're afraid of the people. We don't trust the people. We want you outside. We'll be inside where it's air conditioned. You'll be outside where it's 95 degrees. And then they send somebody to say, look, we want to warn you that there's an electrical storm, and there's thunder, and there's lightning, and there was a lightning strike very close to us while we were here. They don't give a damn about you. They would love to see a bolt of lightning strike right in the middle of you because they think you are dirt. These people are so arrogant. They despise the parents. They despise the people who voted them into office, and they don't care what you think. So we're out here. We braved the heat. We braved the electrical storms. And I just want to thank you because I'm going to tell you something's going on. You know, I've been here in Loudoun County going over 20 years. And we often have some group that forms here and there. But never in Loudoun County history, not ever, have we had so many groups that organically sprung up. They didn't come from the Republican Party out of Washington. They didn't come from some shrewd politician who said, "Oh, look, we can do this. We'll rouse up the little people." What happened is ordinary people like each of you have risen up on your own issues and said, "We're just not taking it anymore." And I'm going to tell you, you may think, okay, well, my group is only 20 people, or maybe it's only 5 people, or maybe it's 100, maybe it's 200. But whatever it is, all of a sudden you're the eyes and ears for the entire electorate. People who could get away with this stuff that they're pulling, they can't get away with it now because we know who they are, we know what they're doing, and we're starting to drain their authority. You can almost see them, you almost see the blood draining out of their faces, and they're terrorized. The last time when we had our meeting, what did they do? They listened, they gave us 1 minute, and they figured, okay, that's enough. And then at a certain point where everybody jumped up and started hooting and hollering, they just bailed out and ran. They're scared of the public. They're scared of the voters. They called the police, and it was very unfortunate because one of the things that they were hoping to do, there was a father who was getting up to speak after me. He was being harassed by several transgender advocates, people who knew that his daughter at Stonebridge High School had one of these guys wearing a girl's dress go into the girl's bathroom and forcibly sodomize her. That was the man who was arrested. He was confused. He was stunned. He sat there with these people harassing him, the transgender people harassing him. They knew that his daughter had been forcibly sodomized, pushed to the ground, beaten to the ground, and then abused. They knew it, and they deliberately tried to harass him. Now, when they cleared the room, then that father was confused. He was stunned. That was his one chance to stand up for his daughter and to say, look, this is what happened. This is the results of the policies that you're pushing in the schools. So I want to thank all of you for being out here. God bless you. Keep it up.
He was on vacation and came home to be with us, so thank you. All right, we have one more parent, and then we're going to close with Fight for School. So Alicia Brand.
Hi there. So today I just want to speak as a mom, because I'm a mom of 3 middle schoolers. And the one thing that very few people have been addressing, particularly our school board, is education. So I want to talk about that today. Because last year I took my kids out of Loudoun County Public Schools and I put them into Virtual Virginia, which is a fantastic alternative to this school system, and they got an amazing education. But as a mother, I am struggling with re-enrolling them back into the school system. But I'm going to do it. But first, let me tell you why I'm struggling. I'm struggling because on one hand, my kids need a quality education so that they can go to the college that they want to go to, so that they can be what they want to be when they grow up. On the other hand, I know that they can't get that here. On the other hand, my kids suffered from the social isolation that was imposed upon us by our radical government, and they need to be back in school with their peers. I'm struggling because I know that my children cannot get that. They cannot get both at LCPS. And now I'm faced with making a decision. And neither one of those decisions will make my children whole. I moved here 8 years ago to Loudoun County. I'm a Loudoun County resident. I'm not bussed in from another state. I'm not here to cause chaos. And I am not here to tell what the other people in the parking lot, what they can do in their own families. I'm here for children, for my children, for your children, for all children because Loudoun County Public School used to provide world-class education. They did. The parents, the teachers, that's right, parents, teachers, administrators, they all worked together for the betterment of all of our kids. But today, because of our school board, they have made decisions to lower the standards of education so much, taking advanced math out of middle school. I mean, no more math. What? Math is racist? Art is racist? Music is racist? What? Right? I do not anymore have any confidence that any child in this county can get a quality education. They can't. I've watched over the past 18 months this school board destroy a great school system. 20 months. I've watched them destroy a great school system for 20 months.
I love you all. I gotta go give it to the school board inside. I'm gonna have, where's Joe Mobley? Joe? You're my step-in. Mr. Chatterbox, where the hell are you? Okay, Joe. Alicia's gonna finish, and then it's Eugene, and then Ian.
Well, you don't need
So I'm getting to the end of my speech here. So I've watched the school board destroy a fantastic school system, world class, best in the country, for the last 20 months. I've watched them divide this community, right? I've watched them plot against parents and teachers, and I have watched them make up dangerous narratives about all of us out here because none of us, Randy Weingarten, the president of ATF, the second largest teachers union, said that we don't want history taught. We don't want to talk about slavery. We don't want to talk about racism. Is that true? No, that is a categorical lie. We want our children taught about everything that's the truth so that none of this happens again. And as parents, we want what's best for our parents, for our children. This school board has taken its eye off the ball. They no longer focus on what they are supposed to focus on. They are an activist school board. They're doing what they can do instead of what they should do. And what they should do is focus on reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and science without a political agenda. What they should be doing is not treating our teachers in cultural competency. They should be preparing our children to make up for 20 months of learning loss. They should be preparing them to walk through those doors, those symbolic doors of the classroom, to deal with social anxiety and emotional challenges that they are for sure going to face because they've been out of school for so long and because they are being terrified about wearing face diapers and dying of the Delta variant or Lambda variant, which there's no science to back that up. So I'm here today to say thank you to every single parent that's out there, and please get all your parent friends out there to help us fight. Because if we don't fight today for our children are going to have such a dangerous fight after we're gone. A dangerous fight. It's our job to keep them safe and fight for the United States of America because we are given freedom and liberty and parental choice. And we need to fight for that. So thank you all for coming out in this weather. And thank you to Patty and all the speakers here. I am so proud of all of you. Thank you.
No announcement needed.
Thank you. My name is Eugene Delgadio. I served on the Board of Supervisors for 16 years. Hello, everybody. I'm also running with John Tigges, as you may have heard from John, the live stream. Now, let me explain. Chatterbox here and Ian and all the other groups, all the other organizations. This is a live stream. So please share these live streams with your favorite organization As Dick Black said, usually 5, 10, 20 people. Well, guess what? This little group over here, Public Advocate, has live streamed Dick Black, John Tigges, Ian Pryor, Fight for Schools. We have done over 100,000 views per video. People like Natasha Grover, starting a year ago, we would put her on the internet and promote the issue. So you can reach more people on Facebook than some of these websites, some of these news sites. So please share to your friends. Please figure out how to get a hold of the link and please share that. All the speakers are fantastic. Now, one nugget from me. I served 16 years on the Board of Supervisors. Every single improvement we made, sometimes building 2 high schools at a time, 70 schools in all. I was chairman of the finance committee.
trying to get accountability and transparency back at our school board. It's the most important governing body that we have. It's more important than Congress. It's more important than the state legislature. It is the single most important governmental body that we have. They're in charge of what happens when we send our kids through those two doors. And if they want to keep at 2023 or whether it's sooner. And I would say this, though. Getting to detente is going to be very difficult. And some of those school board members are probably past the point where there can ever be a detente. But some of them aren't, right? Some of them need to know that all of this stuff that they're doing, changing the rules of public comment, saying we're engaging in dog whistle politics or this is all designed to win elections, is disrespectful to their own constituency. The only way that they could even make a gesture that they are listening to us, they know it, we know it. And you should tell them, call on Beth Bart to resign. Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys didn't get the numbers, they were calling for 7 through 18. So we got one ad hoc speaker for you, Janine Lawson. Are you here? She's here. Here she is. She's running for Congress in the 10th. This is not an endorsement. I don't know this lady. Hi, I'm Joe. It's good to meet you, Janine.
And I'll never call you Chatterbox.
Yes! Vote for her.
Hey everybody, I'm Janine Lawson. I represent a district in western Prince William County on the Board of County Supervisors. So I am here from Prince William County to tell Loudoun County how awesome you are. And thank you for leading this fight across the nation. You are the epicenter of this movement, like Ian just talked about. I have family in Iowa and Florida and other places, and they all want to know, hey, what's going on with that county? Loudoun, London, and I said a lot is going on. The parents are rising up. This radical Marxist school board woke up a sleeping giant. Make no mistake about it, CRT is embedded with Marxism. I was proud in December to walk out of a, what was it called? Unconscious bias training that the school board and our board chose as a priority. Our board meets with the school board twice a year. And in December, they thought it was more important to have this ridiculous unconscious bias training rather than talk about getting our kids back in school, capital projects, what to do with all this federal money that they keep throwing at us as if it's monopoly money. And I proudly walked out of that meeting. And before I did, I made it very clear on camera that this was embedded with CRT and it is anti-American, and I would not sit there and subject myself to their Marxism. Anyway, I just simply wanted to come up here. I've been spending a lot of time up in Loudoun County for the 10th district, and I truly just want to encourage you and tell you that you are truly leading a nation. Do not give up, be relentless, and continue to fight what's going on in the school board. Remember, they have contempt for you because you will not bow down to what they are demanding. Keep it up, and God bless America, and God bless Loudoun County.
All right, so that is the end. I've been reminded to remind you of one thing, and before I do that, I've been reminded to remind you. But before I do that, I don't usually address hecklers unless they're on my podcast, The Joe Mobley Show. You should subscribe. But I got to address something that I was having a conversation with the heckler. I think it's important. It's not a talking point. This is reality. Why are you against CRT? And can you show any data? Blah, 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 whatever. Here's the thing. It's against Martin Luther King Jr. It's against this guy's dream. How? Can we agree that you put important stuff on the front page? So her district, Prince William County, if you look at the front page of their education, diversity, equity, blah, 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 rainbows and butterflies plan, on the front page it says these things are elements of white supremacy. It says these things are elements of white supremacy. Number 3, colorblindness. Colorblind society is secretly white supremacist. It also says, in quote, content of character is meant to prop up white supremacy. Who was the champion of colorblind society and content of character? Who is the one who quoted content of character? So this guy is a joke. He's a clown. He doesn't want to engage. And I usually don't call people out, but that was just tough to deal with. I actually went to Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary. I guess I should change those passwords. But we've got to get to the important business in this building behind me. The important business like CRT, like murder rates, the important things like crimes against children, sex trafficking, human trafficking. No, we're talking about pickleball, guys. It's on the agenda. So we got to get in there, sign up to speak if you haven't. Maybe you can talk about the importance of pickleball in our school because it's important. It's on the agenda. And that is all that we have for you fine people. Please sign up to speak if you haven't. Please donate to Fight for Schools if you haven't. And Patty would kill me if I didn't say this. It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, or child. You should join the Loudoun County Republican Women's Club. I always say that wrong. 21 through 30 is being called. Thank you, guys.